The next big thing from Hyperkin, of all people. We've been talking about Hyperkin quite a bit lately, but holy crap, when I seen this floating around today, I was like, what is going on here? Hyperkin is teasing an HD Nintendo 64 clone console. They have an early prototype in hand, and they're displaying it, kind of, giving little sneak peeks, and it looks like they're going to be showcasing this at E3 this year. Definitely crazy, man. I have some thoughts about this, but let's take a look at this post on LinkedIn from Andrew Steele. I believe Andrew Steele is a project manager for Hyperkin, so dude knows what's up, obviously. But let's see what he had to say. So concerning the Retron Ultra HD, cheers to everyone whose heart beats faster when you remember the good old slumber parties or late night college dorms. Playing split screen 4-player games in front of an old TV. Well, folks, I'm really excited to offer you a sneak peek at this new prototype. Still in early development, but it's solid enough to be eye-catching and perhaps a piece of the craziest news at this year's E3. Definitely, for a lot of us out there who are just more so in the retro games, this is crazy stuff. So definitely something of interest. Continuing on. While I can't give you any details at the moment, of course, I hope you enjoyed the video and are just as excited as I am. So we'll take a look at this video real quick in a second. But here's some more pictures. Doesn't look bad. Kind of has the same aesthetic from their previous, Retron HD consoles with the little slant on the side, the Hyperkin logo, the grill in the back, the little whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's kind of staying in that similar fashion as the other ones. Doesn't look too bad. I'm sure people will be like, I don't like it. Doesn't look like a Nintendo 64. Yeah, doesn't look like a Nintendo 64 to me either, other than seeing those controller ports in the front. But it doesn't look like a bad system. I like my clone systems not looking like original systems. So there's that. Now, I have a lot to say about this, but before we jump into that, let's quickly go through their video. I have this like on a higher speed just to quickly go through it. But you see they're playing Mario Kart here. A few other games, and it kind of struck me as odd, the game choices. They got GoldenEye Nintendo 64 version, and they do show, I believe, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Smash Bros is on here, and everything's looking pretty crisp in my eyes. Everything is running smoothly. It seems like there's more than meets the eye here. Super Mario 64, of course, looking crisp. And they're using like their little controllers, HDMI port in the back. Nice. Bright colors. The colors are on. The colors look good here, right? So there's a few things I got to say about this stuff. But there we go. Mario 64 looking crisp. Colors are on point. Ocarina of Time. They kind of skip through. I'm not sure what else is going on here, but the colors look good. The game speed looks good. The sharpness, everything looks good. Looks better than an original Nintendo 64. But my concern with this is when you really think about it, guys, go back in time, go back in history. We've had NES clones, Super Nintendo clones, Sega clones for a long time. We even had NES clones, maybe not so much floating around in the US, but they were out there back when the NES was actually on the market in stores. Same thing with the Super Nintendo. Companies were cloning them. There were companies who were cloning them to look identical to the real system. They were making they were making bootlegs. They were like just straight up copying the system. But we've had clones of these systems for a long time. And the Nintendo 64, we haven't. And I've always heard this discussion about this, but look at these prices on these games, man. I hope they got a discount on this. $45 for Zelda, $50 for Mario Kart, $60 for a beat up ass Super Smash Bros. And I think that's like the greatest hits version or something. Wow, them prices is outrageous. I hope you got like buy two, get one free or something. Because geez, that's going to dip into the product development of this device if you're spending all this kind of money on these games. Holy crap. But like I was saying, we've never seen Nintendo 64 clone consoles. Why? Why have we not? I've always heard the debate, well, the patents aren't expired. Nintendo won't allow it. Do you think Nintendo allowed people to make clone consoles for years, like way back when the Super Nintendo was still on the market? The SNES 101, the Slim Super Nintendo, when it was available in stores, there were clones of it. I don't know if you knew that. And they were pretty spot on looking clones, and they worked well. They worked pretty much similar to the Super Nintendo Mini, not the classic edition, but you know what I'm saying, the SNES 101. There's some things you could tell that they were clones, but crap, they looked exactly the same. They had Nintendo's logos on them, all that kind of stuff. Do you think Nintendo allowed that? No, they didn't. It's just, them Chinese bootleggers, man, they be making whatever they can make. So there's a reason we haven't seen Nintendo 64 clones, because people haven't been able to make them. Is Hyperkin going to be the first? Maybe. But I have my doubts that this is an actual clone system. I don't think this is going to be a system on a chip, because if we've never seen one before, it has nothing to do with the law and have nothing to do with patents, because there's certain companies out there who don't give a crap. They're going to do what they can do to make a buck. It's the architecture behind the system. People haven't been able to figure it out to make it worthwhile to make a clone system. Could you imagine 10 years ago somebody making a Nintendo 64 clone console that outputted composite and it cost $300? You wouldn't buy that crap. You would just go buy a used Nintendo 64. So I think that's the reason. It's just been too difficult for anybody to do. So what am I getting at with this? I don't think this is a system on a chip. I think this is just emulation. I think they've just got this set up to where, just like their Retron 77, which is not a bad device, I'm not knocking the 77, or the Retron 5, it's just dumping the ROM from the cartridge and emulating it. I could be wrong, but I feel like I'm 99.9% on point with that there's no way that this is going to be an actual clone system. If it is, holy crap, I will eat my shoe or something, because I just don't see it. I'm thinking this is just going to be an emulation device, but then to keep it at a decent price, what is going to power this thing? How is that going to work? Because even Nintendo 64 emulation isn't 100%. And I noticed the games they selected to show here, this might be a reach. I might be reaching here for my thoughts here, but I don't care. I'm just sharing my thoughts. That's all it is the games they selected, for the most part, are games that I would select to showcase emulation on a single board computer. Pretty much, I'm seeing this video play of these games, and I'm like, every single one of these games are games that I would put on a RetroPie or an Odroid build or a very low-end PC build to showcase Nintendo 64 emulation, because I'm not going to have that much issue, and I can optimize the emulators for these particular games very easily. That's what kind of struck me as just like, wow, these are the same games I would pick. Yeah, they're some of the most popular games, but they're the same games that I would pick to showcase emulation. And that's not just, making up an example. It's the truth. These are the games I would put on like a RetroPie build. So that kind of got me thinking, like, is that what they did here? They chose games that they know they can emulate decently well to showcase in a little sneak peek? Maybe. Looks too damn, sharp and crisp. You go back to any of their other clone consoles, and I know there's a market for them. I'm not bashing them and I'm not defending them. There's a market for cheaper, low range, mid range, whatever you want to call them, HD clone consoles. Some people dig them, some people don't. It doesn't really matter. I always say it. The choice is yours, and there's no right or wrong answers. Don't let any kind of elite asshole out there make you sway away from something. Do you? That's all there is to it. But when you look at those previous consoles, they've always had, like, the biggest thing is the colors would never be on point. Seeing this Nintendo 64 stuff, the colors were damn on point in my eyes. It looked good. It looked crisp, bright. There was nothing wrong as far as the visuals, are concerned, in my opinion. Maybe there's something I missed there, but they look good. So that's saying something, I guess, for these guys if this is an actual clone system. But like I said, I really do feel this is just going to be an emulation system, which could cause other concerns. Is the emulator they're using their own? Is it properly licensed? That kind of thing. Who knows? And with emulation, it not being 100%, no matter how you emulate Nintendo 64, is it going to be a thing where if this does come to market, that it's only compatible with certain games? Are they going to provide a list like this is compatible with these? Like, I mean, Nintendo 64 in the US only had like 300 games or so. Don't recall the exact number, but it was only around 300. Are they going to put out a list like this system's only compatible, near 100% perfect compatible to the point where they know people aren't going to notice things or really complain, and say like these 50 titles, these 40 titles, whatever, just pulling numbers out my ass. These titles here are the ones that are compatible with this system. Now, if that was the case where it was only a select number of games from the library, would people still be interested? I think so, but just not as many people knowing that. Why would I want a system that only plays a part of the library? You know what I mean? Some people would be like, it plays my favorite games. That's all that matters. I don't care. I'm down in it. Cool. But that's just all speculation on my part. Just really curious with this thing. The only other real option out there as far as Nintendo 64 cartridges on HD is, getting an Ultra HDMI modded Nintendo 64. Getting the kit's like, I believe $150. If you can't install it yourself, you're looking at, just a guess and estimate, maybe around $80 to have somebody install it, maybe 50. I don't know. I'm out of the loop on that stuff. But you're looking at a couple $100 to get your system modded if you can't do it yourself. So it's pretty pricey. And even with the Ultra HDMI, the visuals it's not like magic all of a sudden. Like the Nintendo 64 looks like the GameCube. The problems that the Nintendo 64 has is still apparent using HDMI. Does look a hell of a lot better, and I love playing it that way. We've highlighted the Ultra HDMI Nintendo 64 on the channel quite a bit in the past, but that's really the only other option. So if they could release something like this, if it is some kind of crazy system on a chip, I don't know, man. I'll be shocked. If it's emulation, I don't know how down in it I'm going to be for Nintendo 64 unless they've done something really special and unique and have like near 100% compatibility with games, no glitches, all that kind of stuff. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? We'll just have to wait and see. But let me know. Would you be interested in this if it was just emulation that only worked with so many games? Or would you be more interested if it was like the unbelievable system on a chip? I mean, I don't see that happening. I mean, I would be more interested that way. That's kind of a stupid question. But the question more would be, I guess, if this was released as an emulation device, would you be fine with that? Curious what you guys think about this thing. Just saw it making the rounds. It's an early development prototype. Hyperkin's done a lot of stuff with prototypes and stuff, showcasing things, and they just never come to fruition. So it wouldn't shock me if nothing ever happened with this because they've shown things at E3 before that have never came out. So, hey, who knows? The best of luck to these guys. Really curious to see where this heads. Like, what is this actually going to do? Let me know what you guys think. Really do appreciate it. With that said, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom. Bye. I'm reaching.